So Pitta dosha is mainly made up of the fire and water elements, and it's responsible for all digestion and metabolism in the body. You can think of Pitta like a roaring fire, and it's predominant in qualities such as hot, sharp, fluid and light. So people that predominate in this dosha are full of dynamic vitality. They're sharp-witted and they've got clear and confident speech. So looking at physical appearance, Pitta types are of regular or medium build, and they often have quite defined muscles. They tend to be quite sporty, perhaps being drawn to competitions and marathons. Their skin tends to be fairer and their eyes are lighter, so they're sensitive to both heat and light. So this type might often wear sunglasses when it's not particularly sunny, for example. So Pitta type of skin can get quite easily irritated, say after sun exposure, and can be prone to redness. This type of dosha, also due to the heat quality, sweats quite easily, and they may also be prone to premature greying and balding. So what does a good balance of Pitta look like in the body? These people are full of fun, vitality and energy, and they're generally good fun to be around. With their roaring digestive fire, they've definitely got a strong hunger and need to eat regularly, so definitely no skipping meals for this type. They tend to sleep well, albeit for shorter periods, and they're raring to go in the morning. This type thrive on routine, and they often have several to-do lists on the go. They can tend to be quite high achievers, and they do well in areas such as business, science, sports or law. They can also make charismatic leaders, and they love being the centre of attention. So looking at when Pitta gets out of balance now, this could happen after a long hot summer or perhaps too long spent in the sauna even. And this can show up in the skin, for example. They might get some extra redness or some rashes. And it can also start to affect digestion through acid digestion or heartburn and diarrhea, and perhaps even fevers too. Emotionally, high Pitta in the body can show itself as more anger, irritability and frustration, and this type might find it hard to start unwinding at night and have difficulties in getting to sleep. This type can be quite competitive, and if Pitta gets high, they might find themselves making too many comparisons with others, and they can also become quite critical, although they save the most criticism for themselves. So looking at balancing Pitta dosha in the body now, Ayurveda considers the right food and good digestion to be at the heart of health and healing. So balancing out Pitta's fiery, intense qualities requires cooling and calming food. So you need to minimise the salty, spicy and sour tastes. So foods like alcohol, chilies, excess garlic, for instance, and most citrus fruits. Instead, you can favour cooling foods such as fresh fruits and vegetables, particular green leafy vegetables rich in the bitter taste. So looking at drinks, this dosha is advised to avoid black tea and coffee and other stimulants, and instead favour cooling liquids at room temperature. Coconut water is ideal, for example, or warm herbal tea. So looking at herbs to pacify Pitta dosha now, we want herbs that are cooling and calming. So things like licorice, coriander, peppermint and aloe vera are all really helpful. Looking at herbal teas, Pukka's Mint Refresh was blended specifically with Pitta dosha in mind and can really help calm and soothe digestion. There's also a wonderful Ayurvedic herb called shatavari, which can be really helpful to cool and calm the whole system for Pitta types. So Ayurveda is in full agreement with the old saying of lunch like a king, and this is especially true for Pitta types with their roaring digestive fires. So it's really important that they have a good lunch between 12 and 2 p.m. It's also important they balance out work with enough free time to prevent burnout. So things like sports and swimming can be really helpful, but as long as they don't push themselves too hard. So practices like meditation and mindfulness can also be really helpful for this dosha. In fact, anything that encourages a sense of playfulness can also stop this type taking themselves too seriously. So looking at seasonal tips, summer can be a time when this type gets quite hot and bothered, so it's really important they keep hydrated by drinking lots of cooling liquids and especially avoid exercise in the midday sun. And thinking about places to go on holiday, this type are really advised to avoid hot, dry places, so somewhere with a more moderate climate is ideal. I hope you've enjoyed learning about some diet, herb and lifestyle suggestions to help keep Pitta dosha in balance. If I was to sum up 3 tips for this dosha, it would be to develop moderation, to be more understanding of others, and to connect with the cooling element of water whenever possible.